Hey guys, today I'm going to be going over the single crochet increase, the half double crochet increase, double crochet increase, and triple crochet increase. So if you're looking to learn how to do increases, this video is for you. Grab your hook, some yarn, let's get to it.
Single crochet increases. So here's my little swatch of 3 rows of single crochet stitches. To do increases on a single crochet, all we're going to do is I'm going to work 2 single crochets in each stitch instead of just 1. So I'm going to insert my hook into this first stitch here. I'm going to yarn over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2 loops. So there's my single crochet stitch, but because I want to do a single crochet increase, I'm going to go back into the same stitch I just went into and do another single crochet. Just like that. Now I have 2 stitches in my one. I'm going to go into the next stitch. I'm going to insert my hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarning over, pulling off both loops, and then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go back into the same stitch and do another single crochet. Into the next. That's just one. I'm going to go back into that stitch with another. One single crochet and 2. Another. Right back into that same stitch with another. Into the next stitch. And go right back into that same stitch with a single crochet. I'm sorry about the noise in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. We just moved and we live in a small town, and they use like an air raid gun for emergencies to contact all the on-call emergency people. So that's what was going off in the background. I'm not sure if it's going to be in the recording, but yeah. It's quite loud. So I have my 2 single crochets into that stitch. I'm going to go on to the next one. Do 1. I'm going to go back into that with another single crochet. Got a little hair here. And go into the next. With 1 and 2. I'm going to go into this very last stitch here. Oops. It's a tight one. There we go. And I'm going to do 1 single crochet and 1 more into the same stitch. And there we have it. As you can tell, this last row is double the size of the previous rows. I went from 10 single crochets in a row to 20. Half double crochet increases. So to do a half double crochet increase, I have 3 rows of half double crochet stitches, 10 stitches in each row, and I'm going to do increases, so that means that I'm going to double what I have here. So I should have 20 half double crochets at the end of this row. So to start this row, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into this first stitch, yarn over again, pull up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of the loops. So there's 1 half double crochet. In order to do an increase, I'm going to do another half double crochet stitch into the same stitch I just went into. So instead of moving on and going into the next stitch, I'm going to do one more in this previous stitch. So yarn over, go back into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, yarning over and pulling off all 3 loops. So now instead of having just 1 half double crochet stitch, I have 2. And I'm going to continue that all the way down my row. So now I'm going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through all 3 loops. That's 1, and I'm going to do that again into the same stitch. So yarning over, going back into the same stitch to make an increase, yarning over, pulling off all 3 loops. Now I have 2. So whereas the past rows I only did 1 half double crochet, I have done now 4 where I would have only had 2. And that's all an increase is whatever your pattern is calling for, whatever stitch you are doing, you are just doing 2 into the same stitch. So yarning over, going into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off all 3 loops on my hook, yarning over, going back into the same stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull off all 3. Yarn over, into the next, yarn over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off all 3 loops on my hook. That's 1 half double crochet in that stitch. I'm going to do 1 more to give me my increase. I'm going to continue that all the way down, so yarning over into the next, yarning over, pulling up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, yarning over, pulling off all 3 loops, yarning over, going back into the same stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off all 3 loops, yarning over into the next. Whoops. That's 1. Yarning over again, going back into the same stitch to give me 2. Into the next. Back into the same one. Yarning over, going into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through all 3 loops on my hook. Going to do that one more time into that same stitch, in, pulling up, yarning over, pulling off all 3. Yarning over, going into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off all 3 loops on my hook. That gives me 1 half double crochet. I'm going to do that one more time into that same stitch. Just like that. And I have one more stitch here, so I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that last stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to pull off all 3 loops, and one more time. And there we go. I have 3 rows of half double crochet stitches, and 1 row, as you can see, is doubled. 1 row of half double crochet increases. Double crochet increase. Okay, so I have 3 rows here of double crochet stitches, and I'm going to do a row of double crochet stitches increases. So to start, at the end of this row here, I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, I'm going to flip, and I am going to work a double crochet into this first stitch. Now instead of working straight into this second stitch here, I am going to put another double crochet stitch into the same first stitch that we just put this first double crochet into. So I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to insert it back into this very first stitch, yarning over again, pulling up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook, so I'm going to yarn over, pull off 2, yarn over, pull off 2. And that is my first double crochet increase stitch. So we went from 1 double crochet to 2. And I'm going to continue that all the way down my swatch here. So working into the next stitch now, I'm going to do 1 double crochet, and I'm going to do 1 more in that same stitch. There we go. Get my yarn all twisted here. Okay. So, if we were just doing single double crochet stitches, we would have 2 right now. But because we've done 2 increases, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 double crochets in this row so far. And you can tell how many of the stitches you have done in the same stitch by counting the posts here. I have 1 post, 2 posts in 1 hole. So I know that I have done a double crochet increase in this stitch, and I have the same here, and I know that I have a double crochet increase in that one as well. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarning over again, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, pulling off 2. Again, back into that same stitch with another double crochet. So whenever your pattern calls for an increase, whatever stitch you are working, you just do 2 of that stitch in the same stitch. So here's 1 double crochet, and now, as you can see, I only have 1 post there. Now I'm going to do 1 more into that same stitch. to give me my increase. Into the next stitch. One. And two. Yarn over, insert it into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to do that one more time into that same stitch, yarning over, going into the stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. Yarning over, going into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2 loops, yarning over, pulling off 2 loops. Going to do the same thing into that same stitch, and round, up, around, through, around, through. Yarn over, into the next, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, going back into that same stitch, two, two. Last stitch here, we're going to go in, one double crochet and 2 double crochets. And there we have it. We went from 10 double crochet rows, 3 rows of 10 double crochet stitches to a row of 20. We have doubled the amount of stitches that we had just by doing increases. Treble crochet increases. Okay, so I have my swatch here of 2 rows of triple crochet stitches, and this 3rd row I'm going to do an increase on every stitch. So I'm going to start by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to flip my swatch, and I am going to do my first triple crochet into this first stitch here, so that's 1 triple crochet. But I want to do an increase, so I'm going to do a 2nd triple crochet into that same stitch. So I'm going to yarn over twice. I'm going to insert it into that exact same stitch. I'm going to yarn over again, pulling up a loop. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull off 2 of the loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over again and pull off 2 more. And then again, yarning over, pulling off the last 2. And now this is my first triple crochet increase of the row. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook twice, go into this next stitch, I'm going to yarn over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2 loops, yarning over, pulling off 2 more, and yarning over, pulling off the last 2. So now I have 1 triple crochet in that stitch. I'm going to put another one for my increase. I'm going to wrap my yarn around twice again, go back into that same stitch I just made a triple crochet. I'm going to pull up a loop. That gives me 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull off the first 2, yarn over, pull off the second 2, and yarn over, pull off the last 2. And there we have it, 2 triple crochets in 1 stitch, giving me an increase. Yarning over twice, going into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, 4 loops on my hook, gonna yarn over again, pulling off 2, yarning over, pulling off 2, and yarning over, pulling off the last 2. Just like that. Wrap my yarn around twice, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, 4 loops, yarn over, pull off 2, yarn over, pull off 2, yarn over, pull off 2, 1 triple crochet. Let's make it an increase. Going to wrap my yarn around twice, back into that same stitch, yarning over again, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, pulling off 2, yarning over, pulling off the last 2. Okay, wrapping around again 2 times, going into the next stitch, going to yarn over again, pulling up a loop, yarning over again, pulling off 2 loops, yarning over, pulling off the next 2, yarning over, pulling off the last 2. So that's 1 triple crochet. Let's do it again. Wrapping it around twice, going back into the same stitch, yarning over again, pulling up a loop. Got my 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over again and pull off the first 2, yarn over again, pull off the second 2, and yarning over again, pulling off the last 2. Wrap my yarn around twice and continue all the way down. I'm going to go back into the same stitch and do that again. It's much easier to see with the treble crochet how many stitches you've put into that 1 stitch. So you can see I have 2 posts here, so that I know that I have done an increase into that 1 stitch. I'm going to wrap my yarn around twice, go back into the next stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling off 1, 2, yarning over, pulling off 2 more, yarning over, pulling off the last 2. Can go back right back in there. Pulling off 2, pulling off 2, pulling off 2. Excuse the noise. It sounds like there's people outside. I'm gonna wrap my yarn around twice, go back into that same stitch, yarning over again, pulling up a loop, giving me 4 loops on my hook. What happened there? Let me redo that. Wrapping my yarn around my hook twice, going back into the same stitch, pulling up a loop, 4 loops on my hook. I am going to wrap my yarn around again, pull through 2, wrapping my yarn around again, pulling through 2 more, and again pulling through the last 2. Wrap around twice into the next stitch. Oh no. Let's do that again. Into the next stitch. One, 2, 3. Gonna go back into that same stitch for my increase. One, 2, 3. One more here. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook twice, go in to the stitch, yarning over again, pulling up a loop, 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn around again. I'm going to pull through 2, yarn over again, pull through 2, yarning over again, pulling through the last 2. And there we have it. That is a row of triple crochet increases. As you can see, we've doubled the amount of triple crochets in this row from the previous row.